Yeah, I'm excited, except for the fact that we have to talk about the Bears.
Peggy, you know what I did yesterday? I went back and listened to the introductory press conference to training camp with Ryan Poles and Matt Eberflus. And I just wanted to see if we had missed some signs. Do you know what I mean? Like, could we tell then that things were going to get this drastically derailed? And the thing that stuck out to me was midway through the press conference, someone asked the question, our friend Mark Grody asked the question about the expectations on Caleb Williams and how and for the team and what are they doing to make sure that he's ready to progress in the proper timeline. And the question was asked, I assumed, to Ryan Poles, but Matt Eberflus stops and goes, I'll take this one, which just made me laugh a little bit, right? Like, to myself, I was like, oh, okay, you'll take this one.
Yeah.
And he talked about this grand plan that Shane Waldron had for helping Caleb to develop and like explaining to Caleb. He's like, I just texted him today, making sure we all know he's talking to the quarterback now. Texted with him today and wanted him to know, like, he's going to start training camp at this level. But by the time we're done and over the next 50 days before we get to game one, he's going to be up here at this level, right? And we're going to take it in little chunks and we're going to see what he did well over 4 practices. Then we're going to pause and build on that and do this and this and this. And I'm like, the more he said it to me and now knowing what happened, I feel like there was no plan at all.
Well, I believe there was a plan because remember, throughout the season, they kept referring to the plan. But I believe Ryan Poles was fleeced by Flus.
Yeah.
And this grand plan, and that it was so detailed, that it was so impressive. Mm-hmm. You're like, wow, this is really good. Except when it doesn't work.
And there was no adjustment when it didn't work, right?
Yeah.
And even for what Flus was saying, what he had said to the team, we're going to, remember his line? We're going to lead from the front. What does that mean, A? And 2, no one was leading. There was no leadership. They needed someone to lead from the front, and they didn't have that.
All these phrases,
I'm
makes
sick
my
of them.
skin crawl. I'm sick of the phrases. I'm sick of the,
level
on
up.
the grass, we
level
up. Right?
Oh.
All of that. I'm so sick of the phrases because the word salad, it's never meant less than now.
Right.
And I really think that I really, really like Ryan Poles, and I really wanted to believe in him. Mm-hmm. But boy, the more I am looking at everything from personnel to coaches that were hired to schemes that were selected, I can't believe he missed so many marks.
Agreed.
And
Peggy,
I now have changed my mind. I think that if Kevin Warren had to do something the Bears had never done before, because that's what he was brought in to do, was to change things up at Hallis Hall and convince them it was time for Flus to go, then Kevin Warren also has to do something that has never been done, and that is hire a general manager that is on the same plan, contract, termination, everything as your new head coach. Mm-hmm. And I hate to say that because I really wanted to believe in Ryan Poles.
Same.
But every time I look at everything from the top-heavy offensive skill players that he signed and went after to surround Caleb Williams with, and the money that they threw at the linebackers as their first signings, it just really, really bothers me more and more that he built the team from the outside in instead of from the guts where it should have been.
He stood in front of us and said he's never loved the depth at O-line more than he does now.
Right.
Peggy, 2 10-game losing streaks on his resume.
Right.
And now, this week, he's going to tell us that he noticed things were not being held accountable during training camp. Wait. He's blaming 2 guys who are no longer here to defend themselves.
Well,
which just felt...
I don't...
That's all on Ryan Poles' resume, all of it.
So I think... I've really tried to think hard about what this means. When he brought that up, he did say the question that Jeff Joniak had asked him was about, do you think it's
slow
a bigger
starts.
picture with the slow starts, or is it something more specific? And he said, I do think it's a bigger picture. You know, it could go back to training camp. So we actually have the bite. Let's hear what he said.
Our team's got to play well and clean up some of the mistakes that we've had over the past 2 months. We got to come out and play fast and get on the board early and not have such a deficit to start a game.
Right, that elusive quick start kind of doomed the day against the Lions. I think I can hear it in your voice, the frustration. What do you think this is linked to? Is it a team pressing, or is that just low-hanging fruit to go in that direction? Is it something broader?
Yeah, I think it's something broader and something we've talked about a lot here in terms of trying to find solutions for it, which has been clearly difficult to do. And some of it, I believe, stems back from training camp. It's just some of the things that either weren't addressed, they weren't detailed enough, whatever that is. But there's a lot to learn from this, and we got to make sure that we continue to fight and scrap to figure out ways to get over this hump, because there are going to be ups and downs in the season, and your ability to break a trend and get things back into a positive light is key for any team to have success. So we have to figure it out.
Some things that weren't addressed.
Well, now, here's what I will say. We knew that some things were not being addressed. Mercedes Lewis told us things were not being addressed. They mentioned
they were not
OTAs.
fixing things as they were happening.
Right. So that is not necessarily news, as it is that Ryan Poles admitted it. We knew those things were going on, right? We knew there was a disconnect because they asked to be coached harder and to be held more accountable. They asked for that.
So it seems like it was something operational, and that's what I've really been racking my brain to figure out what would be operational that would affect your inability to start fast. So is it the play calling? Is it the cadence of the play calls? I don't know. They did adjust that. Thomas Brown did address it also when he took over, and did adjust that so that it wasn't as complicated for Caleb Williams. Is it something as simple as the plays are coming in too late, that it's taken too long in between snaps, things like that? Operationally, it's obviously not personnel.
Well, you know that they're with Shane Waldron. They did not have a first 15 scripted.
Yeah.
Isn't that a big deal?
So Yurko and I talked about that, and not every team does have first 15s.
Wouldn't that be helpful for a rookie quarterback, though?
It kind of depends with how they were, like they threw the whole playbook at him.
Right.
So I don't know. Like, I the first 15s, yeah. I think that's almost too easy at this point. I think it was something like either with the play calling, getting the plays in, identifying the defenses for him. I don't know. There's something missing in the operation that they are not getting into the right tempo at the start of the game. But boy, when Ryan Poles says that, you just look back and you say, well, what else did you notice in training camp? Did you notice that Shane Waldron had completely changed your offensive line responsibilities? Did you by any chance watch the Brian Baldinger's breakdown of the offensive line from the game?
No, I did not.
Oh.
Now I have to.
Oh, my gosh. It is awful. It is so awful. The offensive line from the game Thursday night was constantly miscommunicating on whose responsibility what gap was or what player was. Constantly. And I remembered when the whole stuff started coming up with Mercedes Lewis speaking out, that the offensive line did not like how much Shane Waldron had changed things up for their responsibilities. Well, now, 17 weeks into the season, it is still an issue.
It's still an issue.
So how did you not see that was going to be an issue, not only in training camp, but the first half of the season before they had the bye week, and you go back and you say, what's not working? You know what's not working? Our blocking schemes.
Correct.
Are not working.
Yeah.
So I just think my final thing I will say about Ryan Poles is this. He is too slow to make adjustments and to make decisions. And I get it when he and Kevin Warren say they don't want to make snap decisions, that they're going to think things out thoroughly and not react emotionally. But sometimes you got to be a little bit quicker on the button. Right. too slow on the button when it came to the guys that he never should have kept on the team.
Right.
He's too slow on the button when it came to coaches that should have been let go. Too slow. He's too methodical, and you know what? He's got to make his decisions a heck of a lot faster.
I just don't think he's very good at even evaluating what he's seeing.
I
Peggy.
think that you throw that in as well.
I don't think so. How could you have looked at that offensive line room and thought, gosh, we're really going to be able to move the football offensively? No,
I know.
Your quarterback's been sacked 67 times.
Oh.
It's a wonder Caleb Williams can get up.